An ordinary Sunday morning. A praise band is up leading so-called Christian worship with the classic arrogant, self-absorbed, self-aggrandizing, self-deluded outlook, clearly unique, special, and gifted by that which they call God, with their appropriate psychic powers to be able to know without a doubt all sorts of gossip and terrible things about people that they have never even once in their life actually met or talked to. All for Jesus, naturally. An archetypal flying monkey, an enabler of a narcissist, the pet of a manipulator, a toady, a mindless minion, or perhaps even an out-and-out narcissist and abusive dehumanizer in their own right. How they love to control others, to slander, to hurt people to get a fix or a feed. The godlike power it gives them. The rush, the thrill of self-exaltation, the look at me, at how grand I truly am. How unique and special I am mindset in concert with the lack of empathy. The lack of remorse. The essentially non-existent conscious. Moral intelligence is totally overrated, and a conscious, I mean, seriously, who needs one anyway, right? Rules, norms, and social mores simply don't apply to them. Maybe to others, to these lesser mortal cockroaches around them, but certainly not to themselves. Human standards simply do not apply to living gods, of which they are gods amongst we mere insects. Because of their self-divination, which no one sees but themselves, they are completely entitled. Entitled to special privileges and preferential treatment. Woe to those who do not understand how truly important such creatures are, at least from their own neurological miswired and distorted perspective. Emotional abusers, for Jesus, of course. It must be so. I mean, let's face it, society would never tolerate such behavior if they truly understood this wicked and dysfunctional psyche, would they? So the blame must be shifted. Always. Yes. That's right. They are not responsible anyway for their own disgusting and toxic behavior. How dare anyone make them own their own actions? It's someone else's fault. It's always someone else's fault. If I am an atheist or materialist, then it must be the universe's fault for rearranging its particles in such a fashion that triggers some electrons in my brain, which thus causes nerve synapses to fire, which in turn creates thoughts and fires other neurons which cause my muscles to contract, thus forcing me to strike you. Free will is an illusion. I had no choice but to give you that black eye. Or to cheat on you. Or to steal your money. Or to make false charges against you. Now you have a lawyer and are suing me. But I'm also too displaced and stupid to understand why. Or to speak ill of you, or lie about you, make false accusations against you. It was simply my neurons and some atoms, you see? My particles, evolution, whatever, the scapegoat is irrelevant, whether it be the universe, science, the will of God, other people, whatever, as long as the poison can be spit out and the blame shifted anywhere except inwards. Heavens forbid that we actually introspect. Either way, I will do whatever I want, whenever I desire, even if that means completely violating your very humanity, as I do not recognize it having none of my own, and then I will merely disown my actions and broken dysfunctional parts and project the blame elsewhere. Even on you. Yes, you. Especially, you. It must be someone's fault. It's all your fault. You must be punished. You must be taught a good lesson. How dare you? Perhaps you need a good tongue lashing. Perhaps if I hurt you really bad, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, then I can bend you to my will to worship my image night and day, that I might extract the much-needed supply of never-ending attention, adoration, and adulation which I cannot survive without. This is what I want. What I need. What I crave. My drug. My hit. What I'm so messed up on my own head that I cannot live without it. If I hit you, or steal from you, or turn friends against you, always remember that it's your fault for making me do these things, you see? Sometimes, I just want to burn the world. These are clear cases of NPD, or narcissistic personality disorder, which is quickly becoming a major societal problem in the world, but especially in the United States of America, where the gospel of self seems, unfortunately, to reign supreme over the minds of the all too carnal masses. This book was written about and is intended to deal with an epidemic of two particular types of personas that exist within society as a whole, but more specifically in the context of the so-called church, 1. The out-and-out narcissists for Christ, as opposed to mere two jerks for Jesus. Both come from a very dark place, and there do exist similarities between the two, but also vast differences which will be addressed further on in this book. Many people will up and abandon their Christian faith simply because of such vain charlatans and frauds like these self-righteous showboating circus clowns. Yes. I'll say it. I just said it. I'll say it again and again. And again. Deal with it. I'm sure that at this point, there will be some raging Christian narcissist that will read this, and immediately need to attempt to assert power, will, and dominance over me, simply by claiming that I am just judging people, which humorously enough is itself a judgment on me, is it not? Or by telling me that I don't have enough love in my heart. Bash target overhead. Repeat ad nauseum. First, I have addressed only ideas, concepts, and general disorders and mindsets. I have mentioned no names whatsoever. Secondly, this is a common regular tactic, a mere mindless appeal to emotion and a psychological attack used by Christian narcissists called love shaming, of which we will discuss in a later chapter. Contrast this with an authentic Bible-believing Christian, who is genuinely filled with the love of Jesus Christ. Even if they had a true concern about anything this author has said or written, they would approach it differently. This author is a firm believer in dialogue, discussion, and even disagreement in some cases. The freedom of human conscience and thought is a gift from the deity himself. However, even if such individuals were indeed addressing the topics of love or judgment, it would be in the context of a rational, reciprocative, respectful intellectual discourse. It would not be some proverbial baseball bat of mere love-shaming over the head, or the misused out-of-context words, "You are just judging and you can't ever judge nobody for nothing," because that again, is a mere shaming tactic, used heavily by Christian narcissists to get their way, or force another to comply with their wishes and demands, to bend the other to their own will. It is completely unbiblical in nature. In fact, this subtle, dirty, and underhanded tactic is often also used by the secular humanist and occult world as well. The idea is to shame others, deliberately putting them on the defensive, to force a deep guilt so that the accuser may actually bend another person to their own will for their own selfish ends, be it power, praise, glory, money, etc. Break them down, then gain control of them. Chaos to order. Thine own will be done. This mindset is all too often also used to justify one's own sin, rebellion, and self-serving behavior, which should stand to reason as it derives from the same spirit, but that is another topic for another chapter. Again, we will have an entire chapter on the aforementioned topics, that is love-shaming, don't judge, etc. But this is essentially the general backbone of how the Christian narcissist tends to survive, and help to self-cannibalize what might otherwise be good ministries. The enemy in the gates is hardly a new concept in human history. It helped to destroy the city of Rome in the 5th century under the barbarian Goths led by Alaric. General Sun Tzu writes of it extensively in his classic military treatise, The Art of War. Warfare, illusionism, and the art of conning and manipulating others are all heavily based in deception. Hidden and subtle. Like a true snake, in the tall grass patches, is the enemy within the gates of the city, disguised as one of its own citizens. Be of no mistake here, true biblical Christianity does indeed have an enemy. An enemy of ages old. An enemy of renown and of great cunning. Because this is such a rampant problem in our modern day, these writings will spend a significant amount of time dealing with the differences between what we might call biblical Christianity versus American churchianity. This book is an acknowledgement of all who have been, in the past, shunned and mistreated by such club Christian narcissistic neo-Pharisees over the years and decades. The true Christ would have actually acknowledged your humanity, not exploited it. These guys don't have the moral or social intelligence to even begin to scratch the surface of doing so, as they are too busy erecting altars to themselves and merely sticking a Jesus facade upon their temple of self, in vain hopes that they may, in classic narcissist fashion as always, conceal their ugly behavior from the world and from the sight of the one true God, and his sole biblical Son, Jesus Christ of the New Testament Scriptures.